And with the United States presence globally, we have for many years maintained global order in the world with our United States military. We have the finest military. But in this last
time, with the idea that there are people who don't feel like they're supporting our troops by contributing tax revenue through the income tax or through other taxes.
Pass patient-centered, market-driven reforms. You loser pay laws. Some people call it tort reform. Loser pay laws. Let's expand medical
it back to the states so that we can use the innovation in the states, come up with the best ways to deliver health care. My wife is a nurse, and I'll promise you, we understand that if we can get the federal government out of our
I don't see that we have the authority to all of a sudden impose our system of justice across the entire world. I do not think it's effective. I think it drums up more anti-American hostility more than it achieves justice.
It has nothing to do with national security. Matter of fact, our national security is more jeopardized by permitting this to happen because we're liable to start a war. We're liable to have our military men killed. We're liable to have more attacks on us by terrorists.
Our foolish policy in Iraq invites terrorist attacks against U.S. territory and incites the Islamic fundamentalists against us.
Our foreign policy of military interventionism has brought us death and destruction to many foreign lands and loss of life for many Americans. From Korea and Vietnam to Serbia, Iran, Iraq, and now Afghanistan, we have ventured far from our shores in search of wars to fight. There is no evidence that this policy serves the interests of world peace. It certainly increases the danger to all Americans as we become the #1 target of terrorists. Our arrogant policy and attitude of superiority will continue to elicit a smoldering hatred toward us, and out of sheer frustration will motivate even more terrorist attacks against us. Our arrogant policy and attitude of superiority will continue to elicit a smoldering hatred toward us, and out of sheer frustration will motivate even more terrorist attacks against us.
Our foolish policy in Iraq invites terrorist attacks against U.S. territory and incites the Islamic fundamentalists against us.
Our foreign policy of military interventionism has brought us death and destruction to many foreign lands and loss of life for many Americans. From Korea and Vietnam to Serbia, Iran, Iraq, and now Afghanistan, we have ventured far from our shores in search of wars to fight. There is no evidence that this policy serves the interests of world peace. It certainly increases the danger to all Americans as we become the #1 target of terrorists.
I don't see that we have the authority to all of a sudden impose our system of justice across the entire world. I do not think it's effective. I think it drums up more anti-American hostility more than it achieves justice.
It has nothing to do with national security. Matter of fact, our national security is more jeopardized by permitting this to happen. We're liable to have more attacks on us by terrorists.
CIA is correct when they teach and talk about blowback. When we went into Iran in 1953 and installed the Shah, yes, there was blowback. The reaction to that was the taking of our hostages, and that persists. And if we ignore that at our own risk, that if we think that we can do what we want around the world and not incite hatred, then we have a problem. They don't come here to attack us because we're rich and we're free. They come and they attack us because we're over there. I mean, what would we think if we were, if other foreign countries were doing that to us?
The only thing I always find myself in disagreement with you, and I don't understand, I want to really give you a chance to explain this. Why do you think we have no business or role in preventing a madman, Holocaust-denying guy like Ahmadinejad that wants to wipe Israel off the map, repeatedly states it, an enemy of the United States? Why do you think it would we shouldn't involve ourselves early before he gets a nuclear weapon?
Well, first, we don't have the authority. Second, we don't have the money. Third, it hurts our national security. And fourth, I think it hurts Israel for us to be doing all these things.
What do you mean we don't have the authority? Whose authority?
I mean, where is it written in the Constitution that we should be the policemen of the world?
It doesn't say that.
No, you can't do it.
Yeah.
So,
but we have the right to defend ourselves.
Bush? George Bush had it right in the year 2000. Remember, he said, I don't want to be a nation builder. I don't want to be involved in policemen of the world, because he didn't like what Clinton was doing in Kosovo. So I just stick that. The founders preached that message. Don't go about the world looking for monsters to destroy. Besides, we don't have the money is the most important.
I think that's really important. But is it a case that if we don't deal with certain threats now, we'll deal with them later? For example, as we watch the expansion of Nazism, eventually, obviously Pearl Harbor played a big part, but we were a part of beating back the forces of fascism and Nazism. Maybe had we gotten in early?
Yeah.
I mean, do you have to look at potential threats down the road and realize that if somebody says they want to destroy you, you got to believe them?
Yeah, but that's all war propaganda. We did that to go into...
No, Ahmadinejad says it. He wants to destroy Israel in the U.S.
Yeah, but so did Khrushchev say that he wanted to bury us, and he had a capability of doing that.
Yeah.
Iran is not a threat in a true sense of the word. They have
really
a lot
believe that?
Let me finish the sentence.
Yeah.
They have a lot of oil, but they have to import gasoline. They don't have intercontinental ballistic missiles, and people like others, and maybe you're willing to go in there and aggressively attack a country, and they don't even have a weapon.
You know why I am, and this is just a disagreement we have, because when he says he wants to annihilate Israel, his ties, he's fighting proxy wars against Israel right now by funding Hezbollah, Al-Qaeda, Islamic Jihad, the Muslim Brotherhood. They're already fighting a war against us in many ways, and Western values, and it's just a matter of us recognizing it.
But if we'd have followed George Bush's foreign policy and Ronald Reagan, he said that he left after Lebanon and the chaos. He says, those politics up there is so irrational.
Yeah.
He said that I made a mistake. He brought the troops home, and he said that if he'd have been more neutral in that area, those 241 Marines would have been still alive. So Reagan had second thoughts about it, and the founders preached it. And I think it's going to undermine our defense. I think what we're doing here
may not come to that.
I think what we're doing is very dangerous to Israel. This big fight in the United Nations. What are we doing with the United Nations? Why are they helping us make these decisions?
Why are we even in there? Why are we funding it?
I'm for getting out of it. The United Nations started that mess in 1947, and they've compounded it ever since, and they're still
we agree again.
There we go.
Hey, come back, spend more time with us.
Someday.
Always good to see you. Appreciate it.
All right.
Мы вас не добили под Сталинградом, на Украине.